Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Well, we might put a little video because you look so cute the way you're looking there. So
we actually have started putting all our videos back on YouTube.
Okay. Well,
So
I can still like
is that
this.
okay, or
Sure.
I can leave you out, but I'd rather not.
No, you can leave me in. I'll just talk like this. I can't put these on though because I won't be able to hear anything because for whatever reason it's not all connecting. So the good news is
seriously, I'm so happy right now.
Why
I'm
are you
good
happy?
with it because today I tried the stupid new what do you call it? Video thing.
I got.
Camera.
You're not actually.
doesn't
Are you
work,
using the new camera?
Yes, I'm using a new camera.
Okay.
Yes, you can
see
hear
what-
me. Yes, everything's working. You
Okay.
notice?
I got Kenny
I'm
a
not
high
like
def,
I'm not like Baker.
camera,
I'm okay.
and he's
today.
not happy about it. So
well,
Yeah.
makes him look older. That's why.
That's why I don't like it. Yes, it's way
Mhm.
too much detail all of a sudden.
yeah.
This is
yeah.
a face meant
Yeah.
for long distance and or under radio. Nothing
You have
else.
a face for phone for sure. Yeah.
Exactly, and not modern phones. No FaceTime shit. Old school.
Well, since the last time I was on with you guys, I shaved off my beard, and
And what happened to you? You look so young.
I don't know.
Mhm.
I needed a change. My wife wouldn't talk to me anymore. I was this old man in the house. And
How did this work?
actually, what happened? What's that?
How did this work though? Did the talking change or is still?
No, I can talk the same. I just don't have a beard anymore.
Yeah, but what does
No,
wife
but
say?
does-
Is she,
does
is she
your wife
talking
talk
to
to
you?
you
Like, did it
anymore?
My
work?
wife talks to me now. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that worked then. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
it worked. I wanted her to talk to me, so it all
Yeah.
came back around.
That's
it all
good.
worked
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah. That's
My
good.
colleague down the hall had this this app that you put your picture into, and then it makes you look older. And so with my beard, it turned me basically into Santa Claus, which was great because I knew I had job security well into my 80s based on how this app that made me look older turned me into. But I didn't like that it made me also fat and rosy cheeked and big red nose. So I shaved off the beard, and that was one of the motivators for it. That
look
and
like
talking
you
to my
do.
wife.
You look like a teenager.
Well, thank you. It's kind of you.
Well, I'm a
I
kind
was just
guy.
kidding. You don't actually look any older. You look
It's
exactly
too
the
late
same
now.
as
It's too
last
late.
time I saw you.
It's too late. I started nice right away. I didn't say nothing about. Oh, you look nice. You look like a
You're never
teenager.
nice.
You come
on.
right away. Boom, boom, looking old and old. And
Well,
all
I got to
that
come in on the offensive. I don't know where this is going to go. These unscripted things, they can go all over.
stuff. It
the
Yeah,
can go
we're-
anywhere. Who
we're-
knows where this is
we're-
going?
Yeah. We have no idea. Your guess is as good as ours where this goes, actually. So
Right on.
how
I was,
are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's nice to be back on the show. I really appreciate the second invite. I guess I didn't screw up too bad the first time. I was
Oh, come on. We really enjoyed
the
having you on.
podcast world back then.
Yeah.
That's a whole different. How long ago was this?
I don't
It's
know.
been a while, right? Like at least a year and a bit, at least.
Yeah, over that I think. Well, it was in
Oh,
COVID,
2
but I
years?
don't remember exactly when.
Maybe 2 years.
Yeah, I noticed you guys hit. Was it 330 episodes?
We're at 314 at the moment, I think.
We're probably about 330 if you look at all the ones still in the kitty that have to go out.
313 produced, but we probably have like 7 in the
7 or 8
thing.
sitting. Yeah.
Congratulations. That's exciting. I'm really happy for you guys. And
Thank you.
I saw
Appreciate it.
The top 50 podcasts was that's an outstanding achievement. So
Yeah, that's a
well
big
done.
deal.
Woo!
Yeah, we were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
be. That's
It's
that's
kind of fun, right? I mean, like who the hell? Nobody listened to me before. Probably feel the same. And now people, well, maybe they're still not listening to us. Maybe it's the guests. We don't know, but we're okay with it.
well, authenticity is a big deal at work. You got to be able to be
Ah.
yourself.
Yeah, you really do.
What else? It's too much work
Me too.
otherwise. You know that.
Absolutely.
It's too much
Gotta
work.
make it fun.
Just do you.
you
Just do
were-
you.
You were episode 173,
Oh, shit.
and that was March 15th, 2021.
Okay.
Wow.
So a
It's
while ago.
2 and a bit years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. It actually took me a while to find you.
I'm so far down in the scroll.
Well, it's getting to be a longer list, which is really nice to see and nice to
Yeah,
hear.
that's kind of cool.
It's great. Well, hopefully I'll have some new stuff to talk about that's interesting and
I think from
engaging.
2021 to today, there's probably a
Lord.
lot to talk about.
You
Probably
think some
some stuff
things have
to cover.
changed, maybe?
Possibly one or two little things,
here or
maybe.
there. Yeah.
I'm sure we can
Maybe.
find something to talk about. I have no doubt of it.
Well, what it kind of motivated it when I saw you at the BC Food and Bev. It was a breakfast, I think it was, right?
That was the breakfast you were speaking on.
Okay, the pricing.
the joys of pricing.
Yeah, the
Glad
joys
I
of
had
making
coffee.
money. Hey, what do you want from me? As we were talking, I thought there's been like, because now we know it's been 2 years and a bit. Like there's been so much shit going on in the market. Like I think that at that time we had talked that if it felt like for some reason we don't know where the planet left, but every worker that was available was suddenly no longer available.
Mhm.
Like there's positions being, couldn't be filled. Like there was no people. I'm not convinced in a lot of ways. It's doesn't seem to have gotten better in some pockets, and in other pockets there seems to be, and maybe it's just me noticing. That's what I was dying to have you on. Is there seems to be a lot of people vying for a lot less jobs in some other situations. So it was when I was watching you in the audience, because when you're speaking in the audience, you got to find a comfortable face. So and you try to find one or two in different parts of the audience. So
was that Trevor?
Actually, well, because I've known him for so long, it does make it easy. So I would look
was
at him.
that Trevor with beard or without beard?
Well, this is post beard. This is post beard Trevor.
Post beard Trevor.
Right.
Much friendlier face.
Well, that's probably what it was. It like a little kid in the audience. So it's nice to see some young people kicking around, right? So it was him, and then I had Elisa, and I had someone else in the middle. I can't remember who it was, but it made it a lot more comfortable. And I kept thinking, which was probably not good because then I got distracted. But I was thinking, oh shit, we should have you back on because I am dying to know where things are at right now, or what you're seeing, or what the hell we're feeling, or where do we think we're going, etc. So that's the reason I thought, bullshit, I'm having him back on. I can remember the last time you were on anyway, so it didn't really matter. It's not like I have anything to bench against. It's all brand new for me, just to talk with you. So it's all good in the hood. That was my motivation. And Phil just went for it because we filled the spot. So it's all
no,
good.
come on. Awesome. I like it. I liked having you on the first time.
I love it. I love these conversations. This one
is
specific. I do like this.
We've got CPG people who listen to us, right? So I feel like one, if you don't, it's not meant to be a plug, but I get that it's going to sound like a plug. Is if you don't know Trevor, you probably should. If you don't know Trevor's group,
you probably should.
McDonald's search group, you probably should, right? Because if you're in CPG, you're looking for jobs, you're looking for talent, you're looking for people like Trevor and his group. Like they're pretty big players in the space, right? They kind of know where the bodies are, if you will. So
the live bodies anyway.
Even
ones. Some of the dead bodies too.
Probably the dead too. That's a different podcast.
I wasn't gonna specify. I just figured I'd leave it the way it was. But
we can have that one a later time. Maybe that's over a beer and no mics.
Yeah,
and
I don't like to give out those things.
Nah, I don't want to do that.
Well, thanks for the plug. I mean, that's super kind of you to say, and it's not been without a lot of effort and work to try and cultivate, strong and authentic relationships within the community. That we put in I've put in a ton of effort to try and develop that, and I know my colleagues have as well. And actually, we just hired a new face in Toronto who's going to be my colleague there working on all the consumer product stuff. Her name is Annalisa Farina, and we've been joking that her nickname is going to become Alf, which is the TV show.
But just did that on the podcast.
Yeah,
Alf, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Alf.
Yeah, so Alf, Annalisa, she's going to be holding down the desk in Toronto, which is obviously the epicenter of consumer products in Canada. So, the company's built on the pillar of consumer products and operations and manufacturing and supply chain, and those are kind of our big areas. So to have her out there, and she was, 10 years most recently in the space, so she's got a great background. We're really excited to get her on board to do some of this work out there as well, because BC obviously is just a little tiny spot on the map relative to the rest of the consumer products world. So can't hold down the fort myself.
That's good though. That's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. If you're hiring people, that's it.
Yeah, we're hiring. Well, since we talked last, we added another person in Halifax, added somebody in Ottawa. We're bringing somebody else into Alberta, most likely in the next little bit, and then our organization in Vancouver here is still super strong. So yeah, we've been knocking it out of the park. One of the top recruiting companies in Canada, moved into the realm of being considered a large recruiting firm, which is really exciting.
How cool is that?
When I started, it was three of us.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
So a lot of milestones achieved in the last 18 to 24 months for us.
So how many now in the office? Like there was 3 when you started. What are we guys at now?
Started?
There was 3 when we started. We're up to 25 now. And then the other main partner that started off, a guy named Jeff Danis, he just retired as of 2 Fridays ago. I think he's currently in Greece celebrating his retirement. So
fantastic.
Him and Bruce were the 2 original guys who kind of started the whole show, and I was number 3. So he's hung it up, and and departed, which is actually part of the theme of what we're going to talk about today in terms of where the people have all gone. So he's sort of a good little analog for us to take a look at.
They all
Oh,
went
very
to
cool.
Greece. That's
They all
what
went
it
to
is.
Greece.
Apparently they're
Exactly.
all in
On
Greece.
holiday.
Now we know.
Podcast is done. We're
Now we know.
You know,
We
thanks
can
for
just end it
listening.
right here.
I mean, you could have dragged that out a little longer. We're only
And
12 minutes in. We've already cut it, but that's okay. It was still a good podcast. Thanks for coming on. We
for
appreciate it.
sure. People like 15 minutes, just long enough to get home.
I've
in the
heard that. It's
car.
just fast. This hour shit. Nobody wants it.
All this
Fast.
back and forth banter.
Oh no!
That's why we have
oh,
you. You're so smart. You know all this stuff.
A candidate the
love
other day
it.
told me that I was very concise in my writing. I think what he meant was, I want you to write more stuff to me. But yeah.
That's cool.
Time is money, man. Time is money.
So, you know what we should do for you then? Why don't you just, because you haven't been on a while, and there might
Yeah.
be some people don't know you. Quick introduction, who you are, where you came from, like,
Sure.
tight, because at least we've had you on before, and then dive right in. I'd love to just dine into where
what's
the
going
whole
on.
markets is
Yeah.
and where you think it might be going, and what are the opportunities for people who are listening?
For sure.
Maybe some cool pockets of employment that we haven't thought of.
All right. Sounds good. I'm sure I'll repeat some of the same talking
whatever.
points from the last time around, but I'll try to make it interesting. I'm from British Columbia. I actually grew up in Trail for the first part of my life, so we share that same Kootenay root, Kenny.
Same town, baby.
That's right. Lived there till I was 8, and then we moved to the Lower Mainland. Was a sea cadet growing up, so I spent a lot of time marching around and sailing boats and teaching sailing. I spent far too much time on the water on boats and things. I can tie a reef knot in a bowline better than anybody else, which are very useful knots if you're going camping. So I can give you a tutorial later if you need them.
Perfect.
So that was really a good foundation for a problem-solving standpoint. You learn how to do things that people tell you, but also how to solve problems on your own when you're not being scrutinized by somebody yelling at you in a uniform. Went to university, graduated, went and joined Labatt's as a beer rep on the North Island. So I was selling Lucky Lager up and down Vancouver Island, which was entertaining, but you just you can only sell beer for so long before you realize that you're servicing a group of people who are trying to avoid life's problems by drinking them most of the time. And the North Island particularly was a interesting territory to sell stuff like that into. So I got out of it, and I actually went and joined a company called S.C. Johnson, which is where I met you, Kenny, because we sold Engine Intimate Shave Gel, and you delisted me on my first meeting at London Drugs.
I'm not
Nice,
okay. That you go so fast with that all the time. You get that digging. Maybe
Nice.
second or
Kenny.
third meeting. I don't think it was first.
It was traumatizing, man. I went in there. It was
I
the
feel
first
you.
meeting.
I
My
feel
first
you.
meeting.
And
The other buyers at London Drugs were the nicest people on the planet. But I came in to see Kenny, you and Jim, actually. Jim told me he was going to buy all my products from China and import them private label unless I gave him better deals. And
I just discontinued you.
You just discontinued me. So Jim was more
It's a
manipulatable.
different approach. Mine was nicer.
Yeah, it was. You were honest at least, which I appreciated. But that's where I met you, and we've known each other since. We went
still
fishing
talk to
one
each other?
day. We do.
See?
Yeah. You were supposed to send me photos of dolphins jumping in the surf, and in one of our fishing trips, I never got the images. They're probably still floating in the internet somewhere. I hold grudges.
Like apparently you just don't let go of shit, do you?
Actually, you know what it is I'm a highly trained rememberer of people's information.
I need to call you more often. Is what I need to do. That's what I'm getting out of this. Is I need to call you a lot more.
Oh my
All the
god!
details. I got stories.
I like it. I like it.
Wow.
I like it.
So anyway, I did a bunch of time with SEJ, got promoted up the ranks there, and ended up running a sales team. Amazing company. Highly recommend them as an employer for anybody who wants to go get a great experience in consumer products. SE Johnson is world class. So is Labatt, for that matter. And then from there, I took some time off, went and traveled with my now wife. I worked with a friend of mine at his international development company, trying to help companies export products around the world. That was relatively short-lived. It was just before the Olympics, and we kind of accomplished the mission, but I got tricked into coming back into consumer goods by a former, well, still a friend, but former colleague of mine named Mark Mantell, who you may have run into at times.
I know Mark.
Guy's a bit of a legend in the industry, and he worked for a company called Hoffman LaRoche, and I went to work with him. And then my colleague in Calgary, who I work with at McDonald Search Group here, a guy named Michael Van Olm, he and I ended up working at Roche together. And I actually recruited Michael to join Roche when I was a Roche employee. So that was my first successful paid recruitment event. I got paid $2,000 by the company for an internal hire, and I was pretty stoked about that.
Nice.
So I was like on the phone every week with Michael to make sure that he stuck around for
Don't screw it up
period, so that I got my two grand. And happy to say I did. So that was my first ever paid recruitment.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then that came to an end when the diabetes strip business sort of evolved, I guess, for lack of a better description. That business is kind of like cell phone minutes used to be. So you get the machine for free, and then you have to pay for the strips. So that business evolved, and we went from, I think when I left, we were at a 35% market share in Western Canada, and I think that brand is probably now maybe 5 or 7%. So they just kind of walked on the business, and I can't claim the credit for the decrease, me not being there, but I'm gonna anyways.
Take it anyway.
Decreased.
Take it anyway.
So Bruce McDonald, he's the guy whose name's on the wall here. So he placed me at Roche, and he worked with me on a bunch of things when I was at SC Johnson, and I was in a position to hire. So I called him up, as one does when they get lost, when they lose a job, and hey, I need something new. And he said, I don't have anything right now, but come and talk to me about this thing I'm putting together. And next thing I know, I'm sitting in a desk becoming a recruiter. And I remember thinking at the time, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I don't really want to be on the phone all day every day, because I don't particularly like talking on the phone too much. I want to be out selling stuff to people and making a difference and all these things. But I went and I did it for free for a week, and I followed Bruce and Jeff around the office and saw what they did, and I actually thought it was super interesting and fun. And the two best parts are that you get to hover at like 40,000 feet on all kinds of companies and how they operate, and you get to see this master class and what to do and what not to do with companies and how they operate. And then the second part is, and the most rewarding part, is that you get to be part of people's most important parts of their lives. So people, where they value their title and their amount of money they make, those are two of the most important things that they have in their life, because it drives all of the personal stuff that goes on behind it, whether that's family or buying a home or going on a vacation or whatever it is. So it's critical to their self-value and self-worth, and being a part of that journey with them is a huge privilege and an honor to be able to do it at scale. And it's the best part of the job. So I get to hear some pretty cool stories about people's trials and tribulations in life, and help them figure out ways through it. And I love that part of the job. It's easily the best part of the whole thing. And I get paid for it, which is nice too.
Which is even cooler, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Rewarding, and
Kind
then
of
get
helpful.
paid on top of it, right?
Yeah, kind of helpful to get paid.
It's pretty cool though, like because you are, it is quite the service in that. I mean, because I think your guys' track record. I mean, I've had some dealings with you, just one time on it, worked out well. I know obviously a bunch of other people, but it is kind of cool that it's a cool service. You're saving companies a lot of time. You're giving people a chance not to have to go through the bullshit of 5,000. What do I want to, like, you know what I mean? You could help hone it in, which I think it's a cool service.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Service.
And it's, I wish this is going to sound maybe not humble, but a lot of recruitment services don't work the way we work. And I wish more did, because the bar for entry into recruitment is very low. Anyone can be a recruiter if they know how to pick up the phone and have a project to work on to try and find some people. So you often get people who, just don't have any situational awareness or problem solving ability, or the ability to just understand someone's circumstances and situations. So there's a relative lack of professionalism, I would say, in recruitment, and it shouldn't be that way, but there certainly is. So to be able to come in and build a community and have people who are able to get help where they need it on their search for their career and those things that drive the value in their lives, it's something that should be held in higher regard and a higher level of standard of care and how it's done. So I wish it was better in terms of an industry. But for us, it's been great. Our model works really well, and it's well received. So thank you for that feedback.
No, it's awesome.
I think what you do, and I've heard nothing but good things about you guys, is I think really important, because you're 100% right. Like, the number of people that can call you and say, "Hey, I'm working on a job," and then you realize, like, there are some really critical components, right? Like, confidentiality is a big one, right? Like, it's a very, very small industry. And so, I've I've seen coworkers just get, squeezed into really tough spots because the hiring person happened to know their boss, for example, or their future boss, and you're just like, oh, this thing's like a leaky bucket. Like, what's happening here, right? It's supposed to be a confidential process, and it's not, or, I think we all know somebody who has called from a job that they left, and just said, like, can I come back? Like, this is 100% not the job that they said I was going to get. And you're shocked, right? Like, I'm shocked at how many times it happens in this industry, because there's some really, like, not amazing people recruiting for jobs, right? So I think, like, career moves are big. Maybe they're not as big as they used to be, but I think there's still significant moves, and having someone who really knows what they're doing to help guide you, I think, is really critical to the process.
I think that's
right?
the part that I like about it, Phil, though, because even if you're the one looking for the work, it's like, where do you go? I mean, you can hop, I guess, on LinkedIn, or you could do an Indeed, or you're leveraging friends, and you're doing your phone calls and stuff. But it's so much easier if you've got someone who's already sort of done the homework, has the contacts, and actually does take the time to fit you personally into the right fit. As right as they can make it. Shit happens. You can't. You never know where it's going to go. But I think the track record. I mean, again, it's not a plug for McDonald's, so. Let's calm it down in a second. We're gonna have to pull this back a little bit. So it's not a full-on plug for these guys, but they do good work. So I'm gonna give you that, and that's it for you. That's nice. That's like
I'll take it.
3 minutes of nice now. That's it. It's over. Okay, now we kick the hell out of him, Phil.
No, you know what he's thinking? He's like, this doesn't even come close. I still don't have dolphin pictures. Screw you, man.
That's right.
Give me the dolphin pictures. We'll lost those listings.
Well, you had this camera. It had this lens on it. It was like,
for Christ's sake, like, some of my files.
Hard to make. I can't show my hands in audio, but they're spread really far apart right now. And you had this camera. It took like 2 people besides you to hold it up just so you could get this picture. It was like an incredible camera. I don't know what you were compensating for, but it was something. And
it's a family show, by the way. This is a family show. Okay.
No, it's not. Say whatever you want.
Whatever.
I don't know. I was pre-listening to a few episodes. I think I heard a few. Dropped,
I don't think so.
Not
on this show. That must someone else's show, maybe. This show's way.
No. You say whatever you want. I produce them. I produce them over here. You got it.
Don't worry, buddy. It takes me out of half of them anyway.
Kenny's on mute for most of it anyway, so it's all good.
I don't give a shit. Whatever. Do whatever you want. See if I care.
Right on. You don't need to send them to me, Kenny. I've seen dolphins now plenty of times since.
See, there you go.
Oh,
I got over it.
He's got a little tear in his eye. You don't even see it. Like his eyes are watering up.
Don't worry. He's not. He just looks 15. He's not 15. He's been around the water. Relax. It's all good.
I have that filter on my camera to make me look 20 years younger.
Yeah, see, there you go. You're all good to go.
Oh man. So, what's going on these days? What's
going on out there? What the hell's happening to this planet of ours?
Like we were really desperate for help, like everywhere.
Yeah,
for a really long time. It feels like, right?
Well, yeah, we had this phase through COVID where 2020, March of 2020 to maybe October of 2020, nothing happened. It was Deadsville. And then the phone started ringing in October of 2020, and the types of calls we were getting really shifted from being kind of like tactical and executional calls to more of strategy and longer term thinking calls. So, a specific example is like, instead of a sales rep or an infield trade marketer, I now need someone to do e-commerce. I need to redesign my website. I got to come up with a whole new way of going to market because I can't go call on my customers at retail anymore. And so we started doing a lot more kind of thought process work, I'd kind of describe it as. And then the thought process work really quickly turned into hiring people who could digitize the experience of selling stuff. And fast forward to today, we're kind of in a cycle now where those people have been in their jobs for a couple of years, but that thought process of kind of systemizing and removing the human part of the whole sales process has really taken root through basically every part of the business that I can see. So an example is that instead of me coming in and having a face-to-face with you guys and doing a conversation in person, I'm doing this over a video conference.
Right.
Instead of me having an in-store marketing program, that fund is now on Facebook or formerly on Twitter till Elon ruined it, or
Right.
wherever you'd spend your digital marketing dollars. So that chance to get that sample of the product and try the beverage or whatever it is, that's now gone. That money's been dedicated to some kind of contrived digital experience to try and get you to go and purchase. And when it comes back to the hiring process, the whole human element of hiring has kind of been digitized and systemized and turned into this, two-dimensional computerized interface rather than a three-dimensional human experience.
Right.
And so you asked me, what's going on with people? Where are all the people? And I don't think there's any issue with the people being out there. There's tons of people looking for work. The issue is that the system that we use to engage with people is completely broken and flawed and doesn't work properly. So you can't find the people you want. And then when the people you have on the other end that are supposed to be reviewing them or using software to find keywords or whatever circumstance they use to do their interview process is two-dimensional. It doesn't have a human component to it. So you get no energy or enthusiasm or drive, and people hide behind text messaging and they hide behind their phones and they hide behind the computer screen. And you have this real lack of engagement between companies representing their brand to get people to come and work for them and people who are trying to get work being authentic to go and get that job themselves. So you have that as a major issue. Then you just got people retiring and not so many people in the Gen X column to backfill all the retiring baby boomers. You've got a massive problem with new Canadians coming in and not having their skills respected or trusted, or people knowing how to say their name and not being confident to phone them and ask them. That's a huge, huge issue all on its own right in our podcast that we should have that needs to be talked about. So you've got all of these issues just with people not knowing who to go to and where to go to find them. And then you got a generalized mistrust of what's actually posted online. So you got job postings, are Indeed client managers, like your job postings need to be short and punchy. Okay, great. But how does the person know what they're actually applying to? So Phil, to your point, what's the job you're actually getting hired for?
Yeah.
No one really knows. They have a conversation where it's two-dimensional in nature. They don't actually see the physical space they're going to work in or touch the products they're going to be selling or marketing or manufacturing for that matter. And the job description they have is a couple of bullet points on a very short form written document that they post online. So you just have a general lack of depth to any of the content that people are applying to. And then you just have this situation as well where people apply for jobs and they apply for hundreds and hundreds of jobs and they just don't get a callback. And so they get frustrated and annoyed and they just give up. So they don't bother applying anymore and they just sit around and wait for stuff to come to them, which never works.
No.
Yeah. Wow. Can we go back a little bit? Because I think I see, so some of the things I've been, I think I was doing it then, but I'm doing a lot of it now is teaching at a local college, do a lot of digital marketing stuff. And one of the struggles that the kids have is, they get LinkedIn training, they get resume training, all that kind of stuff. But the students also, they really struggle with exactly that. Yeah, I think this week I had a couple of students in my office. One showed me he had an Excel list of all the places he had applied to, all the jobs. He I almost couldn't believe how many customized versions of resumes he had. And he was just one of those, he was supremely organized, had a hyperlink. So he could actually see how he had changed every resume. But he was really frustrated, right? Because he was like, I don't understand. I am, he said, I applied for these jobs. The first, 10 or 20, I was super earnest and put a ton of work into the resume, the cover letters, and then said, by 30 or 40, I'm trying to match keywords. And then by 50, he was like, I'm literally copying things out of the job description and dropping them into my resume. And he said, none of them seem to be working. I apply and they just seem to, I don't know where I go, right? But, out of 100, and he's got skills, you know, he's got some country skills, out of country skills, but some very good digital skills. Because I heard that, right? I think is one of your things that you were talking about was just how do you get past this filter that we don't seem to be.
Yeah. Well, so there's three things that I use as kind of the bellwether things for everything my whole life is people do business with those that they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And the problem with this two-dimensional
This medium here
situation-
doesn't work well with that, though.
What, ours? The three of us?
The three of us, because we know each other. I know
Yeah.
Trevor
Yeah.
as a 3D. I know you in 3D. The
Yeah.
2D world is a really tough one to.
Well, so this is a good example of this very scenario.
Yeah.
You've invited me on the podcast now twice, and I super appreciate it. But you invited me on because you know that I'm going to come and have hopefully something intelligent to say, and that I'm a reliable.
You're a trusted source.
Trusted source that you can bring on and make a however long podcast out of. But if I worked at Jimmy's recruiting down the street and you'd never met me before, you probably wouldn't have.
You're not coming on.
That's correct. That's
so
correct.
You know, if you use that and kind of extrapolate it out to your employee situation, you've got a situation where there's, you know, a number of companies, however many they might be, and you're going to know most of the names of them. And you've got a candidate pool who some of them are going to have worked at those companies, and you're now sitting in. So say you're Kyle Leslie and you're sitting at Star Marketing and you're looking to make your sales pitch to your next potential client, and you want to show the history and the awesomeness of all of your staff. You're going to want to brag a little bit about the people in the companies that they've worked for. But if your people worked for, you know, X, Y, and Z company incorporated in Manila, that's not going to carry as much excitement as it is if it's Unilever, for example. So that the desire to have those kinds of things on the resume, that's the know, like, trust stuff. They don't trust that XYZ company from Manila is going to have the same quality of experience or brand recognition as Jimmy, or my fake person Jimmy is going to bring to the table who worked at Unilever. So the problem with that is that the person from Manila is going to have great experience. They're going to have potentially world-class education, experience, and ability to do the job, but they're not going to get the call back, and it's ridiculous. They should get the call back, but they don't.
They don't even get maybe the first chance, at least to your point. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what? They've got international experience, speak multiple languages, most likely. Do you know, there's a whole bunch of really cool things behind them, but you know what they do? Hands up.
People go, I don't want someone with international experience. I want someone with Canadian experience, which to me is code for,
a whole bunch of other things.
A whole bunch of other things that I don't want to commit to on air, but I could extrapolate based on the types of people that they want to see and their backgrounds that they have a preconceived notion about people from out of country. And
so can I just say this, because that one like really pisses me off, right?
Especially we just had a million people come in the country.
Well, but here's what I want to say too is if you are in marketing and you want Canadian experience, the first thing is get your head out of your ass, right? So I can say that, probably Trevor, you can't, but I can say it. Get your head out of your ass. First of all, the world digitally is probably more sophisticated than most Canadian companies, the Canadian environment. If you're going to digital marketing, you need experience in mobile. Who in Canadian marketing has experience in mobile? Nobody. A Filipino, like, they do all of their business on their phones. The Chinese do all of their business on their phone. The Indians do all of the business on their phones. Asia knows mobile. Yeah, like Asia knows mobile like nobody's business. So if you're a marketer and you're going to tell any one of the three guys on this podcast that you don't want someone with global experience, seriously, get your head out of your ass, right? Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, you're being a fool.
You might have a little trouble understanding them, which I actually bet you won't, because most of them have better English than we do. But, like, oh my gosh, right? Sorry, I know you've got more to say. That one just, like, it makes me.
But I think it drives us all crazy, because the profiling, it's really irritating.
Yeah,
it's just irritating. Like, it really is, to the point where it's just excruciating.
Yeah,
I've talked to, so a lot of them will come in. And I'll get, like, Sean McNaughton threw me someone the other day. Someone else threw me another day. Can you talk to this person? Can you talk to Elisa from BC Food and Bev? Can you talk to this person? I've talked to this young Afghani girl. I've talked to someone who was from the Philippines and someone who was from Chile. And they're not getting any chances.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I don't know these people, but I've had an hour conversation with them.
They seem sane.
They're very bright.
and
They've done some
diligent
cool
and-
shit.
yeah.
They've come from other places, which should be a huge bonus. The fact
Mhm.
that they've seen other things should be like, wow, you've done more than just Texas. You know what I mean? The common example of a Texan never leaves the state. Well, for crying out loud, people, broaden your eyes, your horizons a little bit. Like, look around.
Yeah, I mean, we so our marketing manager here, Mina, she's from the Philippines and she's unbelievable, just a fantastic woman, so experienced, tons of experience. And I think she said, because I asked her before we went on air, I asked her how many different jobs she applied for before she found us, and I think it was in the range of 50 or so. And
Yeah.
most of them she never even heard back.
Yeah.
And I can tell you definitively that our organization is far better with her than we were without her. And she just brought this energy and enthusiasm and knowledge to the business that we didn't have before. And
I'm glad you got her.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
amazing. And I wish nothing but the best for her and all the people that she's referred me to, because she's referred me to some amazing people who I've tried very hard to get into positions only to have them turned down for reasons that aren't valid in most circumstances.
Yeah.
And part of the problem with it, if you look from a system standpoint nationally, you've got doctors and lawyers
Oh,
and all these
yeah.
people who have certifications in their home countries that can't
Yeah.
get them validated
It's
in
ridiculous.
Canada. So right at the highest echelon of
100%.
what you would consider to someone to be a professional at, they can't get recognized
Yeah.
as being a professional. So you're starting, with the
It's a problem from the top.
leadership at the top. Yeah,
It's a problem
it's
from the top.
already saying that these
Right.
people aren't good enough, even though they are. They're not good enough. It's from the right at the top, and then that trickle down effect goes all the way down, and
Yeah.
you've got
Yeah.
people in their 20s and 30s coming here doing MBAs, multiple MBAs. There's people at UCW who already have an MBA that are doing another MBA just to get their ability to live in Canada and work here. Like it's great for the educational industry, but it's not so great for our workforce, because you've got these extraordinarily educated people that are working as, servers at a Thai restaurant or wherever they happen to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's just this vast underutilization of these people. And part of the problem with that is that they go and they work as a server at a Thai restaurant, for example, even though they may have been a marketing manager at Unilever previously or Nielsen or wherever. And on their resume now, their Canadian
now what?
experience in air quotes is that they were a server at a restaurant.
Yeah.
So they're now new baseline for expectations for salary in the eyes of a prospective employer is, oh, we can hire this person cheap.
Yeah, minimum wage.
And that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
that's
that is far more common than you might think. And then the other systems thing that happens is you have a circumstance where, okay, you get green lighted to make a hire. So now you're a new manager, say this is the first 20th, however many hires you've made. You have to justify your decision to the people above you who pay your salary. And they get their candidates set and they're like, okay, well, if I hire this person and I train them and it fails, that looks bad on me. So I've got to make sure I hire somebody who's going to make me look good, because I'm putting myself at risk here. And I don't want to find myself, getting sanctioned or no bonus or out of a job because I made a bad hire. So I have to hire the safe bet. So back to the know, like, and trust piece, they want to hire someone that they feel that they can trust to make them look good in their job and not screw up and not affect it. Even if that person is less qualified or less good at whatever the task is than somebody who may be a perceived higher risk because they're on a visa or they don't speak English quite as well as somebody else in the candidate pool. So I think that the issue is a real system-wide issue that's far more complicated than just two-dimensional interviewing and that stuff. This is a far larger crisis than just there's not enough people. It's really a way of looking at the people that are available and engaging with them that needs to be redefined across the board, from the highest level of jobs down to entry level.
It's such a struggle. Like we I don't know. I mean, like at the school, one of the things we tell them is use the people in your network. So when you add a prof to your network, so I don't know how many people I've referred, to jobs, right? Like either connections, but I'm like one person. Do you know what I mean? Like, we just can't go about fixing it. I also don't think I'm fixing anything, right? Because, this is more of, me letting Trevor or people that I know into, do you know what I mean? Like, it's more of this, right? Because all I've done is perpetuate the notion that if you know someone, it gets you greenlit faster, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like
Well, it's true. So in British Columbia, particularly, Vancouver is a nepotistic market at the highest level. Like there's
Ontario is the
probably,
same. Yeah.
yeah, well, Ontario's at least larger, so there's a bigger pool to you can have smaller groups to be nepotistic in. But Vancouver specifically, British Columbia, it's a very small market. So you just have the same people swimming around the same pool over and over again, and very few inputs into it that are new, really. And in the grocery industry specifically, you can see it if you flip through any trade magazine. You can see how gray and old everybody seems to be getting, and how very few people there are coming up. And I was actually the last. The Women in Grocery magazine issue that just came out. You know, you look through the pages and there's some younger people in there, which was nice to see. But there's, generally speaking, everybody's getting a little bit older, and there's a real, need to get some youth and energy into the business again. But all those jobs are disappeared or rolled into the GTA or just aren't here. And right now, with the economic cycle that we're in, all of the exciting new businesses that we're starting up are all in trouble because they can't get public funding to support their growth at the moment. And you see the most vivid of that would be Very Good Food Group Very Good Butchers going bankrupt. They couldn't make it work and they're gone. And that's the unfortunate reality of what's happened with the economic cycle that we're in, which doesn't help either.
No, and which it's I hate to say, but I feel like we're at the beginning of the problems with that. Like that, we haven't even had the shit on that side hit yet. Do you know what I mean? Like we've still been moving and grooving, but they keep adding a quarter point. They're going to shut us down. Then you got to compound that, right? What drives me crazy though, like literally we were at 37, 38 million people. It seemed like for 10 years, it wasn't. But, in the last 2 years, like 3 years, we picked up 2 million people. We're over 40 million now. And yet we still seem to not have people, which goes back to your other point, is you're bringing people in to help this country grow and to fuel a tax base so we can have hospitals and roads and all that lovely stuff, and to give them the same opportunity that Phil's folks got and my mom and dad got when they came. Do you know what I mean? Like this is the whole point of this country. And then yet when they come, we do
make everything as hard as
we just make it as hard as humanly possible to do anything. And it doesn't matter. It's not even just in this field, doctors, lawyers, accountants, tradespeople. And we're scrambling for bodies, and you're thinking, we just picked up 2 million of them. What the hell are they?
Yeah, it's very true. But I mean, those are problems that as a business owner, trying to bring it back to the business owner's kind of point of view, those aren't problems that a business owner can solve necessarily on their own. But if you think about ways you could solve it as a business owner and ways to kind of conceive of how to go about attracting talent to your organization, there's a bit of a roadmap you can follow that you can do to make yourself authentic and build those know, like, trust elements. And probably the biggest and easiest one to understand is if you think about the amount of time and energy spent around building your brands in the trade and your positioning on shelf, and how much time and attention you might have paid to your logo and your brand packaging and how it all looks and all that stuff. People spend weeks and thousands of hours and time trying to come up with the perfect brand position for the product that the consumer buys, but they spend zero time coming up with the perfect brand proposition for a potential employee or someone who actually works in the organization. And then to compound that, you have this concept of, I sell the best product X, whatever X is, but I'm only willing to pay for the worst product manager on the market. Or, our company is the most environmentally sustainable until I have to hire somebody to do ESG work. Or I'm committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I won't consider a resume from someone whose name I can't pronounce. So that brand integrity doesn't translate between what's on shelf and the time and attention placed there to the people that they're trying to hire. And so the first roadmap checkpoint I would give anybody who's in a hiring position or is an owner of a company looking to improve their attraction and their retention of their employees is to treat every potential employee and every current employee as a recipient of your brand's brand promise. And so if your brand promise is to do whatever for the world, make sure that's reflected through your entire employment experience from pre-employment all the way through. And if you don't do that, then you're not authentic to your brand, even if you think you are. That's my opinion, but I would say that that's the case.
I like it. That's tough. That's very tough, but I like it. I mean, it's 100% true, right? Like how else? It's such a weird, because we talk about this in marketing a lot. Authenticity is a big thing, right? But wow,
The thing is, you look at it the other way, they are being authentic. Their brand doesn't match their authenticity, but they're doing to be totally authentic, which makes it even kind of scarier because you're thinking, like, seriously, 2023, boys and girls,
It's true.
let's
And
snap out of the kind of, really
yeah, I mean, well,
wow,
people's projected self and their real self doesn't always align.
doesn't always align, right?
Yeah, and
Doesn't
so
always
you
align.
can see that online in places like Glassdoor and Indeed and things. You can see reviews, and every candidate should be looking at those things. But yeah, that brand integrity piece is a really important part of the puzzle that any employer should be considering. Even if you're lying about, even if you aren't authentic to your brand's proposition is, if you are a steward of your brand, even if you're faking it, you still need to reflect that through your organization so that your people can reflect it. Otherwise, your brand health won't.
It doesn't matter,
survive.
right? Exactly.
Yeah, it goes right back to the whole Simon Sinek begin with why thing, which people struggle with all the time because I honestly don't think most people understand their why, either as a brand owner and as an employer.
Agree.
Certainly as an employee, people don't understand their why, and
No.
and I'll illustrate that a little bit with your student at the school, Phil. Is that guy has applied for 30, 50, however many jobs. At some point, he's going to get a job offer if he keeps at it long enough. It's just that ratio of applications to success. One day it'll work out.
I told him it's a marketing funnel. So, like 100 bodies in the top gets you 1% conversion at the bottom, right? So said you're getting there, right? So
exactly. So the hope is, though, that guy's 1% turns out to be the perfect job for him that aligns with his motivation, skills, interests, and life ambitions. But the reality is, it's probably not gonna. It's gonna be the job he gets, and then he's gonna go in there and he's gonna be grateful for 6 months. And then there's a thing called the forming, storming, norming curve.
Yeah.
So he'll get there. 6 months will be super excited if that's the forming, and then he'll hit the inflection point where he's no longer happy. That's the storming, and he falls off the chart. He's down here and he's depressed, and he'll either leave the organization or something will happen to make him want to get back on board, and he'll go up and have some happiness. But that first 6 months to a year of being there, if he's not aligned with the vision and the mission, and the company culture stinks and the job isn't what was advertised, then he'll leave because now he's got his Canadian experience. He can go do something else and whatever. But the people will be dissatisfied, and you're not going to get the best out of those employees, and that's no way to run a business.
So what's the fix, though, Trev? So what do you do? Like, when you're doing this now, I'm assuming at one time you're spending a lot of time with your applicants that would come in, which I'm assuming is more, let's say, people wanting to be hired, not so much maybe companies are looking to hire. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I mean, you've almost now got to go in and really. I think you got to ask a lot of questions of the prospective employers and find out, do I want to work with you? Like, do I want to find people for you? Like, I mean, because I'm trying to understand. Like, I hear it all, but like, how do we fix this shit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's good to, we all know it, we're learning and we see it, but
it's a tough place for you. Like,
I don't know. Like, I mean, that's what I'm thrown at. I don't know. In conjunction
with Kenny's question, like, it's almost like when you see this, it's almost like, trying to hire and avoid potholes as you're kind of leading a candidate down.
I'm more to things. Like, if I'm you, like, I'm going to be getting discouraged. Never mind the applicants and stuff. Like, I'm thinking, come on, man. Like, seriously?
Yeah, well, there's definitely that comes. Yeah, that happens. We've actually gotten rid of is the wrong word. We've elected not to work with several clients in the last little while because they have, either unrealistic or questionable ways of going to business that don't reflect our values as an organization, and we don't want to partner up with them. And there's plenty of recruiters out there who'll happily take a buck from whoever wants to pay them, and those guys can go and do those jobs happily. We provide a lot of strategic value to our clients, and we talk a lot about the realities of the circumstances that they're in, and those circumstances could be, hey, you do pay under market, so you have to have this these plans in place to try and accommodate for somebody who's going to be looking to move up from a lower level job into what you're available to offer. And how do you bridge that? How do you train and develop for that? How do you know going in that this person's going to have some deficiencies in their abilities? Or another example, which is one that's I'm working on something right now, is I've got a client who's mandatory in office, and they've got great reasons for it, and it's a great company. There's nothing wrong with any of that. The problem is that the candidate pool is probably 80% still want to work hybrid or 100% remote.
Right.
So that leaves a really small pool of candidates willing to go into that office. And then because of the location of that specific office, it's pretty isolated. So that just takes that candidate pool and it just shrinks it right down to here.
You're back to the funnel issue. You got now it's you get 2 people out of the 100 for that job.
Exactly.
2 potentials.
Yeah, exactly. And so that hiring manager though still has that same set of criteria. Hey, I don't want to look like an idiot in front of my boss for hiring somebody who puts us into a bad situation or does a poor job. So they want something that's completely misaligned with reality. And so instead of doing anything about it, they don't do anything at all. So, Lululemon does this all the time. They have these postings that they have up constantly for the same jobs. And there's 3 reasons why they do it. Reason number 1 is they just have the job posting up just to get people's resumes into their system. Number 2 is they can't find anybody for the job locally. Or number 3 is that they just leave it up because their system doesn't know to take it down. It's just an automated system that keeps repeating it. And maybe there's a 4th reason, but I don't know what it is. But those are the only ones I can kind of think of off the top of my head. But those job postings are up all the time. So then Lululemon, global brand, people love that brand. They see that posting, but then they start to question if they'll ever get a callback because that same job gets posted over and over and over.
Yeah.
You can see that duplicated on all kinds of other companies' job boards. And I also think the job boards are a bit complicit too because they charge $500 for each of those postings or however much it is. And they want to show that there's all kinds of jobs that are posted and other great companies that are using their service. So they just recycle jobs over and over again to make it look like that job board's super exciting and vibrant. But half those jobs aren't real. Right. So, I got off topic there a little bit, but the point is that if you're a job seeker trying to find a job or job hiring manager, come back to the hiring manager. If you're a hiring manager, you have to have an awareness and a reality of what your situation is. And that's something that we as an organization are very good at providing as feedback and validation to help make that decision so that they can make an educated decision and have a defensibility with their manager as to why they chose this individual if they have to. Like we can help them understand that stuff. From a potential candidate standpoint, it's super frustrating to see like the same job postings going unfilled over and over and you never get a call back because for whatever reason. I got going there. The steam train got out of the station and just kept going. I'm
it's
not
okay.
Sure
I love it.
No, I think it's that's why I wanted you. No, it's what we wanted to talk about and what needs to be talked about.
Yeah. I feel it on the one end, right? Because I get all these students, and sometimes you just like there are kids in my class. Like I think last semester, I had some folks from Hong Kong that are almost the same age as me in these classes. And one of them was a senior marketing manager at Pfizer, Hong Kong. I said to her, why are you taking this class? Like, I think you could teach this class. Like, come up here and do this with me, right? And she said, no. I need Canadian, like, that's why I'm here, right? Because I kind of like started applying before I left Hong Kong, right? Because Hong Kong has the special visa, right? Like Canada extended a special visa to residents of Hong Kong because they're a UK colony, British colony. China's taking over, right? That the window's closing, so all the last folks from Hong Kong are starting to get out now, right? And one of the ways is to go and get college. If you take a college degree, you get to your PR faster. And she said, well, I'm here for the Canadian stuff because I started applying out of Hong Kong, and even people within Pfizer were not, like you're going, wait a second, so Pfizer Canada, I don't know, like, so generically Pfizer Canada, I don't know if, friends of mine don't get mad, but I'm just saying Pfizer Canada wouldn't return her call. She's like, I'm coming, right? I don't need the same job. I would love to work for the same company. Is there something? Is there anything? Hello. Didn't even get callbacks or answers from the same company. And you're going, God, like, she's so smart. You know what I mean? Like, really, I was like, I feel dumb assigning these. Like, I don't know I don't even know why you're bothering to do these assignments, right? Like, I'll just give you an A and you can go, right? Like, what? I don't like. Just
Just so
Don't,
stupid.
don't put that on the public airwaves.
no,
Gotta
I don't. I
classify
don't.
people.
Listen, the kids know me. They know I'm good when I'm good, and when I'm mad, they're all in trouble. So they know not to screw with me. But I really like, those things make me crazy, right? Because I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, how can somebody not look at your resume and go like, we should just talk to her? Like, there's got to be. Like, what's the reason that we should just talk to her, right? Like, she's so smart. There's nowhere we could put her. Like, really nowhere, not anywhere, not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how she applied,
know?
but back to the two-dimensional situation that I talked about at
Yeah.
the start,
Yeah.
is that all of the tools that are put in place to enable digital engagement take away the engagement. Like,
Yeah.
no one may know that she's interested in a job with Pfizer Canada. They may never have seen her resume.
Yeah.
So a lot of these job portals that you apply to and put your information into, I see all kinds of crazy formatted resumes. If they're not formatted in a way that applicant tracking system, or ATS it's called in the industry, if that ATS can't read your information, then your name, for example, and your phone number and your email address, they don't parse into the right boxes. And if there's an AI element to it, to your point about putting the actual job description verbatim into the resume, those AI bots are supposed to pull those ones out and flag them for the recruiter to use. But the system to do that is so complicated in a lot of cases. I would argue that most people don't know how to use those systems in a way that actually makes it work to get that information in front of the right person. So they just go unread, unnoticed. Also, there's also the factor that because the internet reaches around the whole world, people can apply for jobs from anywhere. And so you have sometimes thousands of resumes pile into an inbox. And out of those thousands of resumes, 990 of them are going to be from somebody who can't legally work in Canada, that shouldn't have been applying, but did anyways. And now you got a recruiter who's paid 50, 60 grand a year sitting there at a desk going through and trying to figure out who they need to talk to, and they just give up because there's so many people that have applied, or they don't have a system at all. I've got one client who does everything on an Excel spreadsheet. She's like, I've got 10,000 candidates on this Excel spreadsheet that I'm trying to keep track of from all over the world. I was like, that's completely inefficient.
That's nuts.
But again,
no, but that's just nuts. Forget it.
This is a global company, company, known worldwide. I won't tell you who they are, but global company. And she has an HRIS system, like a human resources information system, that she could utilize, but it doesn't work well enough for the needs that she has, because it's an American-run database and all kinds of reasons.
There's always a reason.
It's always a reason. So she had to do it herself through Excel in a way that she understands, because she needs to know, like, and trust her own process to find the right people.
Massively inefficient.
Completely inefficient.
Massively inefficient.
It's just, it doesn't work.
Right.
And so she's overwhelmed with applications that she can't keep track of. So she just gives up and doesn't bother to respond back to people who apply.
Or it could be actually Lululemon thing. You know what? Nobody's manning it or personing it. It's just there. You know what I mean? That job just keeps running and running. Who knows if there's even a job? Nobody's looking. It just.
Now, there are great people at Lululemon, so
this is not a Lululemon show. Not a Lululemon.
There's great people over there doing recruitment.
That's not what they heard, Trevor.
That's not. Well, that's not what we said. We're just saying though. But take any company that just doesn't go back and take something down. Right? Or just, who knows what people's systems are all over the place, right? The Excel system you're talking about, that's probably, I'd hate to say it, but probably in some ways more the norm.
Oh, I'm sure
people aren't using the systems that could be used and making it really complicated for themselves.
I'm sure that's far more common than I would like to even
I'd hate to say exactly.
So what is there an answer? Like, I mean, some of these things are really big.
Okay, you got to go back.
Like,
so
really big problems. So what do we?
Here's this homework. Because we're in an hour. We're going to be 3 hours otherwise. You go home, young man. The teenager there goes home, and now he's going to figure it out. The next podcast, we're going to go down this other path. So we figured out this front part. We know we've got people. We figured that out. We know we've got people who should be hiring people who we need to work on. That's a whole different project.
And the light at the end of the tunnel is there are jobs, right? So for all the people who are kind of like, holy crap, I've been applying for jobs and I can't get them.
So there is work out there, right?
there is
So
work.
there is definitely work, and there are definitely people. What there isn't is engagement between the two in a way that's authentic and aligned with everybody's needs. So that's the big thing. So, you know, to kind of just summarize it back to the business owner or the consumer products professional, they need to be authentic to the brand all the way through their process, and that includes all their hiring back to before they even bring someone on board. And then once that person gets on board, they got to do all this stuff to keep them. But the getting them in place, they need to have the authority and the autonomy to make the decisions, to be able to safely bring people into the mix that they may be taking a risk on by a traditional measure. They have to also be really aware of the fact that they can't get what has been traditionally available, which is, you know, a huge amount of baby boomers who are willing to move for not a whole lot more money, but maybe a bit of title or an extra week of holidays or whatever
it is.
You know, baby boomers were much more willing and apt to move for less significant reasons. Gen Xers right now, you know, we're the problem-solving generation. We're willing to backfill, but we're not willing to do it for free. And frankly, I'm sick and tired of being kicked around by the baby boom cohort that came before me and judges me incorrectly. And then millennials, they need a values-based proposition to get aligned behind. They need their why to go to work for a company. But overall, for everybody, they need to have a motivating reason to join any organization. And it can't be just switching from this company to this company for the exact same money and no material benefit. This place is expensive. All of Canada is expensive. The interest rates are ridiculous. Everybody's cost of living has gone through the roof. You know, people are only considering a move if there's a material increase in some form to their ability to make a living. They're not going to change for any other reason. Unless they're in a situation that's just untenable because they lost their job or there's an abusive situation of some sort or something like that. They're not going to make a change. So if you're, you know, Jimmy's meat shop down the street and you're trying to get a butcher, you can't offer the same price point as the guy at Safeway up the street because you won't get him. He'll just stay at Safeway. And that can be used as an analog for any job in any company across the country unless you make a compelling reason for someone.
You make a compelling reason to come over. You know, and that's back to the first part, which is really aligning with your brand, being authentic. Like, give me a reason. Like, money's always important, no doubt. But people will move for, you know, a little bit less or par if you give me a reason to do so.
Yep. If
you're not finding those people, I think it's time to look in the mirror. It's to get your head out of your ass thing again. Look in the mirror. What is the problem? You may be the problem. So take a look at what you're actually doing or saying, and does it match with what your pool wants? You gave us examples already. People live in a fantasy world. You know, that world doesn't exist anymore. If you want to hire that person, you have to do this now. So participate or don't, I guess, is
truth.
Wow.
I
Trevor
told
Baker.
you it'd be a good podcast to have you back on. You still got homework though.
All right, I'll work on the homework for you.
Got homework because we'll have you back on late fall because I think it's going to be an interesting time. The next 6 to 12 months is going to be interesting. So we'll definitely have you back on because I do like this topic and I think it's important, even for the people who listen. Don't get discouraged. Keep plugging, keep doing your thing, and maybe there's a few tricks in here that you've heard or something you've listened to that will make you look at it a little differently. Or you know what, ping Trevor.
Ping Trevor and my colleagues in the other parts of the country.
We don't know the other colleagues. We don't know
region. Yeah, absolutely. Get in touch.
Alf.
We'll do what we can.
Alpha's here in Toronto.
Alf is in Toronto.
And I'm going to pick on Trevor.
Everybody goes here in Toronto. When I meet Alf, I'm sure
Trevor can quarterback this. You can do whatever you want.
I can quarterback for sure, but yeah, you'll get better response if you go direct.
There you go.
Hey,
buddy, I appreciate it.
Yeah, always fun
Trevor.
to chat with you guys, and I think we flew it in at 105 here. Technical difficulties out of that, it will be a 101 probably.
Not bad.
Not bad. Something like that. It was good. It was good. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Anytime. Okay. Always great to see you guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks,
buddy
Trevor.
boy. You take care. Phil, you hang
care.
out. Trevor, I'll see you at the next event somewhere.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. Take it easy,
Take
guys.
care, buddy.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Bye. Wow, that was gritty. And tough.
It's interesting, right? I mean, it's kind of sad though. It's kind of sad for a lot of reasons. It's kind of sad, like we do have, like we've had such an influx of people in this country, and we just, I don't know. Sometimes I think we just fucking do things so stupidly.
We're making it hard. We're making
we
it
just
hard
make
for
it
people.
so
We
fucking
don't
difficult to do
need
things, and I don't understand why we. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a good conversation. I really enjoyed that. I think it's good, and maybe we just need to talk a lot more about it. And like everything, the more we talk, the more we talk, the more we talk, and maybe the change happens.
I think the other I think the other takeaway is like, because from like Trevor had some really like kind of tough words for someone who's hiring, right? Because
Yeah.
from a company standpoint, you've got to clean up your act and kind of make sure you're there. I think for people who are trying to get hired, this doesn't necessarily help you. I think where the blank that's getting filled in for me is you still have to. It's kind of like what I tell the students too. Is I think you've got to keep going through LinkedIn. You've got to keep finding people who know people, right? So until we get a bit of a change in this, is you've got to find people who can help you, connections.
I think,
Right?
Philip, that will be around as long as time. You always have to have a group of people
Yeah.
that are willing to back you. And it's unfortunate with a lot of these new people. And I think that's why, like, I've had so many friends throwing people at me, is because once you get to know them, if someone phones me on them, I would say, yeah, I mean, based on the conversations I've had, and with the little I know, yeah, I'd probably be willing to take a chance.
Well, you and I have definitely thrown people in based
100%.
on a recommendation, right? And then
100%.
I've had people for sure, like I've had people. One guy was looking for a job. I called someone I knew at GSK and said, listen, you should look at this guy. And then he called me back and said, I talked to him. He sounds amazing. What's your take on him? And I said, look, like he's super solid. I've worked with him before.
I told you to look at him. I already told you my take.
And that was it, right? And that's what it took to kind of push him into the interview process, right?
Exactly. So, you still need that, right?
Yeah.
But people got to give people a chance, right? And don't hide behind the bullshit excuses.
No.
Right?
Really, I really meant to
different language when they come here. My dad spoke a different language. Your folks spoke a different language. For Christ's sakes, give people a chance.
Yeah. And I really meant it. If you're a marketer and you aren't
your head out of
looking
your
at
ass.
international, like seriously, right? Like
my God,
these guys, they come from places where
even if you're in
first.
sales, buddy, even if you're in sales, these people probably hustle a shit lot harder than anybody here is hustle potentially. So before you discount,
and you don't have someone, so fill the spot and let them flunk out on you.
Sometimes
like if
you
don't
take
think
a
they
chance.
can do it, right? But you got to take a chance, right? You got to
calculated risk, but don't discount right away because you don't think that Nestle Mexico is as good as Nestle Canada. Come on, people, move on.
That's wrong.
That's bullshit.
It's categorically wrong.
Anyway, I got to go make dinner. I'm hungry.
Okay. All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody.